Isabel Wolf,
Ed,
welcome back to the Process podcast.
thank you.
You haven't been here in a while.
It's been a while. It's been since these microphones have changed and we don't need to wear headphones.
And what do you think so far?
It's lovely.
Bit different though, because you don't know, you can't hear yourself.
Do they usually not have headphones in podcasts, or they do?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
So far so good. Anyway, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Why?
Why am I good?
Why are you good?
I think it's almost been a year since I've had my child, and I'm starting to feel like myself again, in the sense of finding a little bit more routine. I've lost a lot of my baby weight, which was one of my goals. I'm gonna get back into start doing CrossFit once the 1 year mark. I gave myself a year. We're sleeping more, and so I think and getting back into the routine of work and being able to handle everything that I want to be doing. So I'm feeling more like myself. So that's why I'm good.
Awesome. On the topic of your work,
Yeah.
that's why we're here today. Because you have been a large driving force behind this, and you taught me a lot on this subject. And the subject is about kind of branding. When you joined Coastal Fitness, your job responsibility was marketing manager. That was your first role. And I studied marketing management at university, but I couldn't tell you a thing about marketing. So I don't really know what that entailed, when we first hired a marketing manager.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things you have worked on and have been at the forefront of driving and developing and improving is our brand. Again, I didn't really know what brand really meant. I think younger me just thought brand meant logo. I just thought those two things were the same thing.
Yeah.
But obviously now, however many years later since you joined the team, the concept of brand is so much more than just a logo. It's something that I actually struggle to put into words when I try and define what a brand means. But I guess it's a perception that someone has of you, because you can have a personal brand, or in this case, our organization. And it's everything. It's from like the feeling, it's what the fonts look like, it's the smell when you walk in, the colors, the lighting, the filter that you use on photos. All of it is creating a perception and makes someone, I guess, feel a certain way when they see it. So can you just tell me a little bit about what your definition and what your understanding or meaning of brand is?
Yeah, I think the last little bit that you've put really nailed it. The way that I consider brand and the way that the things that I focus on when dealing with anybody who wants to undergo branding is the way that you make people feel. It's when you're thinking about your brand, you're thinking about the community that you want to create, the people that you want to bring together, the message that you want to portray. You're thinking about loyalty, you're thinking about customer service, you're thinking about your mission, and that all has to be portrayed in a way in your brand. Like you said, it is your logo, but nowadays your logo can be so eccentric and it has nothing to do with your business. Whereas before, I feel like logos were so specific to the word. Like, for example, I'm not shitting on your past logo, but like you chose a
Which
sun
one?
for Coastal because it was like
That was our best logo.
no, it wasn't, because it portrayed like the coastal. You know what I mean?
And that does the sun not make you feel good?
Yeah.
Don't
okay.
forget, it was a sun on a barbell.
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. Where it's just so like word for word is what your
Basically,
logo is.
the logo previously had to basically
An
say
exact
what the business
representation,
was.
exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas
That's
now
what I
it's
always
not.
thought it was.
Yeah. Whereas now it's not anymore. Like, you're able to be more artistic and play with things as long as it has a messaging and a meaning. And it's no longer just a logo. It's like what you said. It's the colorways, because each color has a motion that it exudes, right? And it has, when you look at black versus when you look at light blue, it makes you feel different things and think different things, and the waves in your brain feel certain ways depending on what you're looking at, right? Or the fonts that you choose. If you choose something that's more cursive and small and more girly, it's more dainty, sophisticated. Whereas if you choose big block letters, that's more bold and brave and outgoing, right? And so you have to think of all these little things that when someone sees something that you put up, it makes them feel something that you want to make them feel. It turns their head, it gets them thinking. Because now, in a world where everyone's attention span is so little and there's so much information, you only have that split second to create something that's catchy and engaging and that makes people want to be like, oh, what's that? I want to learn more. And so more than just your product, it's an emotion that you're trying to attract. And because now it's all about personalization, it's about how you make people feel that will keep them with you a long term. So that's basically what I think branding is.
Okay, we're going to talk a lot about kind of our branding
Yeah.
story and I guess just like concepts around branding. But before we do that, I've actually never asked you the question where this interest
Mm.
in branding and like all this stuff, where did that come from in you?
Yeah, this is actually a really weird question because just a couple days ago, so I do follow on Instagram other copywriters and other brand managers and social media managers. And I just want to say, first off, before we get there, when you said in the beginning of the conversation that you studied marketing, but you have no idea what it is, it's just the times have changed so much. When you were studying marketing, social media wasn't a thing. You know what I mean? Whereas when I was studying marketing, Instagram and stuff was still coming up. And that was now an opportunity to take, and that's where the interest came from. And so I cared about my studies and the marketing opportunities there more because you could see the potential of social media in the future.
Hmm.
And when I started and joined with you guys, the marketing manager definition, whereas in the past it was very much like email marketing or flyer marketing, like stuff that isn't that exciting. When I got the opportunity to join Coastal, it was social media marketing, website marketing, where it's like it's a very different world now that's much more attractive for people of my generation, right? So it's like it's time and place, and it was very different. I'm sure if you studied marketing now, you'd be way more interested than when it was that you studied it.
Do you think you have, is there a skill set that makes you good at this? Is there something that like, I don't know, you've maybe always been good at? So I
Mm.
don't know, there's like a creative or an artistic side that you think is like a prerequisite for being able to be good at this kind of stuff?
Yeah. So the story that I want to say was I was following this social media manager, and she put up a post that said, if you asked me about social media management, I would tell you that I love my job, but why? And it was exactly my why is because when I was little and going through school and stuff, I always wanted to get into English and I always wanted to get into literature because I love to read and I love to write. I love to make stories. And that's what social media management is. Like every brand that I get to work with, every social media account that we have here, which we have 6, but also other social media accounts that I work with, I'm able to tell a story through copywriting. I'm also able to tell a story through imagery. I'm able to tell a story through the graphics, through the brands, through meeting new people. And I think that is why I love it. And that is why I'm good at this particular thing is because I love writing and I love copywriting and I love making sure that the words that I use are beautiful and captivating and hit the point, yes, but also tell a story. So I love storytelling. So it's like that's why I think I'm good at that. And in terms of imagery and branding, I think this is I think I'm very superficial in the sense that I like things to look good. I like things that look good, and I think that's therefore where I'm good at knowing what looks good being put up, and that's the aesthetic side of branding and marketing, which is very important as well, other than the messaging, right? So I think those things put together have enabled me to do my job, I would say well.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree with all of that. Um, and it's interesting. It's interesting hearing your story. I didn't realize that I hadn't pieced together storytelling with branding.
Mm,
And now I think about it, like it is really storytelling. But then now thinking about, how I was marketing myself and Coastal Fitness,
yeah.
because I also like storytelling, but I like storytelling primarily through speaking and through
Mm,
words. And I just struggled to create a connection between the presentation visually of something and the story. So I think like when I would try and make something look cool
mm,
or like attractive or enticing, I don't know, I wasn't even ever going to a point trying to think how this might make someone feel.
yeah.
It was just like, okay, I got to put a font on here of some sort, and I
Mm,
would just honestly randomly select anything. And when I would create videos, because I used to create videos for Coastal Fitness way back. These are still on the Coastal Fitness archive, like the very first videos. They're so bad. But I would like put soundtracks on them and like create like cover photo, like intro video,
yeah.
like what's it called, graphics, where like the font would like zoom off the screen and stuff. And I thought as a kid that I was like really interested in it because I
Mm,
wanted to be good at it,
yeah.
but I don't know, I never became good at it. And I think when you joined the team, you were probably one of the first people that was actually brutally honest with me and said, your shit sucks.
I don't think I was that harsh.
I think I actually dumbed that down relative compared to what you actually said to me multiple times. But now it's been really interesting. I guess I think it's just kind of upskilling myself. Obviously, I got you as someone who's kind of mentored me on it, and then I've just become really interested in marketing in general, just because I've now seen the power of it
Mm,
and how much it can impact our business and ultimately our mission here, right? You know, we're trying to impact as many lives as possible, and the more we can reach, the more people we can reach, then the more lives we impact. So,
yeah.
you know, it's taken me a long time to create that connection, and now it's become something I'm really interested in, and you know, figuring out ways to make a message more more, what's the word I'm looking for here, to make the message more powerful.
Mm,
Ultimately, you know, you've got one opportunity to create a message or a post or a graphic, and if you miss that opportunity, you know, you could be speaking to 100 people, or you could be speaking to 100,000
mhm.
people just in the way that it looks. So I've become very interested in it.
Yeah. I think when we first started, again, even just in the last couple years, times have changed drastically. Whereas we're everything that we do, and I think that's important for people to know, is everything that we do is organic and everything that we do is through social media. And we know that we have a huge missed opportunity in the sense that there are other avenues and marketing avenues that we can and we will eventually tackle. But we've been very focused on social media and more so Instagram, and everything has been organic. We now have 6 Instagram pages in our business, whereas we only started with one, Coastal, which 3 years ago or 4 years ago, right before COVID started, we only had one. Um, and it was difficult to manage them all, but I think when we actually sat down and that was very specific on the way that we wanted the brand to look, the messages that we want to portray, who we wanted to speak to, and who we wanted to track, then everything with marketing became easier. So we were very lucky that we had Graham come in. Graham.
I always find it funny when people pronounce Graham as
It's
Graham.
Graham.
It's not Graham,
It's
it's
Graham.
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 Graham. Anyway, a
We
guy
say,
called
yeah,
Graham.
come in to help us really he basically did the exercises we would people so that marketing people usually do, where you sit down and you have people like what I just discussed, say the energy that you want to portray, the message that you want to portray, and then he came up with our logos and our color schemes, right? So for Coastal, we rebranded to kind of this gold green color and black, because we changed from what it was, which was this
Orange.
orange this really bad orange color, into something that we wanted to really be Asia's premier strength conditioning facility. And black is a strong force of a color. And that's what it was. It's sophisticated, it's classy, it's everlasting, and it exudes um royalty basically. And then on top of that, you put a gold, which now is like elevates that kind of energy. Um and then that is at the same time we started the process. At this point, it's very funny because I clearly remember we weren't sure if we wanted to make it a different company, right? We had loads of back and forth with us and Graham and Nick as well, and also your parents, in the sense that um, online programming and online businesses were not, even just 4 years ago, if you think about it, were not as big as it is
Yeah.
now, where everyone was like, oh, is that really a thing? Like, it's not going to be a thing. But you and I were like, no, it's going to be a thing. We need it to be its own business. So we were like, okay, we're going to make it its own logo and its own identity. But how can we kind of keep it so that the reputation of Coastal in the beginning will help bolster the reputation of the process? So we kept that gold color in the process, but now we added this maroon color, this maroon and white to complement the black, and to kind of, because if you just have two bold colors like gold and maroon, it's very hard to create lots of graphics and imagery because they're very two bold colors. So you need white to kind of like soften it out a bit. And we chose the maroon, which I thought was a beautiful color. It's a very gender neutral color that also talks like power and strength and loyalty, all those great feelings that you want people to come, especially with an online business. I think creating community and loyalty is so important when you don't see these people, right? So I think that's how we created two separate identities, but still found that common ground within that gold.
But I want to just jump in real quick because you're saying all this
Yeah.
like it was a collective decision between you and I. And I want to just be honest with everyone and say, like, I have no, I've just, everything you just said about colors and what they mean, I've just learned for the very first time. So I had like, I didn't have any associate, those, when you say it, you know, like black is bold, it's everlasting. I'm like, yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
Gold is like royalty. It's like the gold standard. It's the best. I can definitely see that now, but those aren't things that I was thinking about at the time.
Mm.
I mean, clearly because I'd had 3 logos before this,
Yeah.
you know, so that's a lot of logos in a timeline of about 11 years. And I always had orange in it. And I think the orange was only in it because it started with the sun, because I just like the sun. And then so I thought I should just keep the orange. I never even thought about what orange looked like until
Yeah.
people would come in and be like, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
why did you choose orange?" And I'd be like, "Oh,
How are you even making merch?
my thoughts were no one else has orange."
Oh god. Maybe
That's
there's a
actually
reason.
well, now I know. But my genuine thinking when it came to selecting a color was, what's everyone else doing?
Mm.
And I think I just went online and I just looked at all the other brands,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, like, okay, these colors all look really good, but I'm not going to choose the same color because then we're not going to stand out.
Yeah.
No one's using orange. And so that's where my thinking went. I think that what I'm trying to say here is that if people are listening to this and thinking about their own brands,
Yeah.
because we're going to talk about personal brand later,
Yeah.
you know, which means that you don't have to have a company to think about branding. You know, our own Instagram page, your own social media pages, the way that you dress and present yourself every
Mhm.
day is all exuberating your own brand. And if you're like me and you don't have that natural, not, I shouldn't say natural, because this can be learned, because I know that now, but you don't have that knowledge and understanding that you clearly have and had, then, you know, what does one do? Like we hired a professional
Mm.
essentially to take us through that process. And I kind of want to dig into that process a little bit more, because, you know, he asked a lot of questions.
Mhm.
When he was asking the questions, I was like, how has this got anything to do
Mm.
with us having a new logo and the colors? But it was all about the origin story, the backstory, where we'd come from, you know, what was our mission, what we were trying to achieve, what are the things that we really believed
Mhm.
in. And, you know, creative people like Graham and like yourself are able to then take that story and marry it with a font and a logo and a color and a graphic,
Mhm.
which I don't have that. It's still now, despite all my learning, I don't think I can do that. So I would just say that, you know, in fact, there is lots of information, I'm guessing, out there. I know
Mhm.
you follow a lot of social media
Yeah, there's
accounts.
loads.
Maybe, I don't know, what's some advice that people can, where are some places that people can go to kind of upskill themselves or even work with experts?
Yeah, I definitely think for something like this, especially for creating a brand, you want something that you won't have to change. So you want this is an investment that you should be making in yourself and in your brand. But if you're just not at the point of wanting to commit to that yet, I think especially for a personal brand, like what you said, the best place is to start within yourself. So you just look at the way that you dress, the things that you like, the pages that you like to follow, you enjoy the brands that you love and follow. So if you love Nike, or if you love Adidas, or you love um other things that you always wear, why? Is it what color scheme do they have? What font type do they have? What marketing do they do? And if something in that speaks to you, then that's what you capture and you keep in your bank to now use on yourself. You may not understand fully the way that I do why it does, but that doesn't matter. It's the connection, like I said, or the feeling that you feel because of them, then they've done their job right. And if that's what you want to give to someone else, then you should be able to do something the same or similar, you know? So I would always start there, especially when creating your personal brand. It should be easy. It should come naturally. It shouldn't be something you're stressing about, anxious about, or overthinking. If it is, then it's not the right avenue for you to portray. If most likely when I see that happening, when people trying to force their brand, it's because they're too concerned about the way other people see them. They're
Mm.
trying to be someone that they're not. So your personal brand should come so easy to you. Your voice should come so easy to you that that's what you should be portraying. Does that kind of help?
Yeah, it's tough though.
It is.
Again, for someone like me
Yeah.
who doesn't think on that level, like, you know, don't really think about what I'm wearing and what I'm looking
Mm,
like on a day-to-day
yeah.
basis. And I really wasn't thinking about what my social media, for
Mm,
example, was looking like at all. It was just, and I think for me, I was looking at others for inspiration because there was clearly no consistency with me.
mm,
So it's like I needed to go and look for consistency in other brands. And then it was kind of like, oh, maybe that's what I should be doing. Maybe I need to be doing that. And I think it's taken me lots of years to now actually be able to put into words.
Mm.
Actually, I'd probably still find that pretty hard, but I could probably say it now what my look and my feel is. I think if you look at my social media page, I probably don't really have a feel that much. You've helped me a lot with creating a feel, but I still probably, yeah, still struggle with knowing what that really is.
In terms of social media, right now, I think with personal brands, there's less stress on because you don't have the way that we do your social media currently is a complete reflection of the company. So we use the fonts, but we use different colors for yourself. But you can see the mesh in there because you're lucky. Well, not you're lucky, but you own the company, and so it's very easy to create that for you. And I think your content comes so easily because you know exactly what value you provide to other people and what you want to share to other people. So when people are talking about personal brands and just creating noise, it should be what you want to share. In terms of the tonality of the things that you post, and if you're creating graphics, the word that you used is spot on. It just needs to be consistent. So
Mm.
like you shouldn't be choosing a different font for everything. You shouldn't be using different language for everything. You should decide from the get-go, okay, I want to speak like this, and I want to use this type of English because that's also very important. Sometimes I see, and this is just me nitpicking, but people will use American English and European English for
Oh
like
God.
and like that. It's just like, well, I can see
I'm
that
saying oh
maybe
God because I'm thinking about my own page and I'm
that's
like,
what you do. You just copy and
not
paste from
intentionally.
Chat GPT.
I do not do that, by the way. Please do not think I do that.
Yeah, so little things like that. But like I said, I would, if this is something that you're super serious about, I would go and seek help
Yeah,
because
I
there
agree.
are people who this is what they do. And once you have it, you'll never hopefully have to do it again.
Yeah,
So
you want to essentially have autonomy on it. So
yeah.
have these people teach you how to do your thing, and then you can then manage it.
Yeah.
Or unless, of course, you just choose to work with them for a long time. I wanted to quickly interrupt this episode with a quick shout out to our sponsors, Today Well Spent. I've been using this journal for 2 years, and it has made a massive impact on my physical, but mostly my mental well-being. It is a guided journal backed by neuro and behavioral science, which I actually didn't know at the time. It has questions for you to answer at the start of the day, at the end of the day, end of every week, end of every month. And it's brought so much self-awareness to me of the things that positively and negatively impact my life. So if you're someone who cares about your physical and your mental well-being, which I think you do because you listen to this podcast, then go and grab yourself a Today Well Spent. Use the discount code THEPROCESS, one word in capitals, to get your discount. Okay, I want to, before we start digging into personal brand,
Yeah.
I want to just talk about the idea of consistency across
Yeah.
all the different companies. So it's not different companies is the wrong word, but our different brands.
Hmm.
So I think very quickly we have 6 Instagram pages now. We've got the podcast,
Yep.
we've got process education,
Hmm.
we've got the process programming, we've
Hmm.
got the process athlete page, we've
Coastal.
got coastal fitness, we've got build,
Oh, and podcast, we've got
and
7.
yeah, okay, so we've got 7 different
Yeah.
pages. So I remember when we started, and by the way, these 7 pages didn't all start at the same time.
No.
You know, coastal fitness was the first one,
Hmm.
and then when we started the process program, that was the next one.
Yeah.
And just slowly over time, as we've like created new arms of the business, we just have realized, because most of them have been arms off the process programming, we've just realized that shit, like we've got so many different things all on the same Instagram page on the process program. We're
It's
talking about,
losing the
yeah,
message.
it was
Yeah.
just getting confusing. People didn't know what the process program was actually about. And so then we've had to, over a span of 3 years, slowly create these new pages that are speaking to a very specific audience. But what I was always thinking, and I always had these conversations with you, I don't have many more because now I understand. But I was like, oh, you know, what logo are we going to use? Are we going to get a new logo for this? Are we going to get a new logo for that? And you
Mhm.
just say, no, like we've got our core logo. We just simply just change the word. And like I'd say, you know, well, what font are we using? We're using the same font
Mm.
because even with coastal and the process programming, whilst they're essentially serving two similar, sometimes the same, but different
We have the
markets.
affiliate page as well.
With
We've
the
got
affiliate
8.
page, yeah.
Holy crap.
Um, you know, there are still consistencies on that. So I don't know if there's a conversation to be had here, but I just think it's cool because now I think from the outside looking in, you can see that they're linked.
Mm.
And I guess the question is like, well, why is that important?
Yeah. Um, so I think the only page that has its own logo and a completely different feel and brand identity is Build.
And we did a whole podcast talking about that.
Yes, and that was one of the most fun projects for sure. Liam and I did that together. Just because, and it's important to note that it is, I'm not going to say completely out because it's still in the fitness realm, but it's not like any of our other services. Build is look good, feel great, function well, right? And it's very much in the bodybuilding realm, which everything else that we have under the umbrella, we're very CrossFit. Coastal is a CrossFit affiliate. The process programming is CrossFit training programs. And then our affiliate is for CrossFit gyms. This podcast we mostly talk about, but it's under the process umbrella. Um, and then our coaching education course, individual coaching, is also under the process programming, which is CrossFit based, which is why we decided to keep that consistency across the board and to have build kind of um, live on its own. And we think initially it wasn't. We took the leap and decided to put it away because the message was confusing. We would have them people being like, well, should I follow the CrossFit program or the functional bodybuilding program? And then we weren't targeting the right people, right? So with its own brand identity, we've been able to target a completely different target market who doesn't have the relation. So that's where consistency does its job, is that you're keeping people in the ecosystem who have the same thought processes, the same values, and the same sense of community. And so now they're in every one of your services. They want to do your CrossFit programming. They want to listen to your podcast. They want to be part of your affiliate gym. They want to be a part of an individual coaching course. And so now we've created this massive ecosystem based off of one initial business. And that was unfortunately doing Build a disservice because we already had another training program. So we were like, okay, if we're going to do well in this, it needs to go off and fly, which I think it's done an amazing job with that. And they've started their, um, 3-day a week, which is really good for that. So, like I said, all of those pros are the reason why we've kept everything else consistent, is because you want to feed the same person in every single one of your services. And they'll only know that, or they've now created this sense of loyalty to the process, that everything else that they want to invest in needs to be the process as well. Because now they're wearing the process merch. So why would they go, if they could find everything they need in one spot? Why would they want to go and be loyal to someone else, right? So it's like this culty thing, but it's like that's how you create successful businesses, is be able to satisfy the needs of a consumer, multiple needs of a consumer in one business, because then they don't need to outsource, right? And it's like and that's the way that as a business or as a professional you'll grow, is like you're creating merch, you're creating products, you're creating sources of education, you're creating opportunities for partnerships, you're creating events. Everything can be found here. You don't need to invest elsewhere. So I think that was the very key importance of keeping branding consistent throughout all of those services. Does that make sense?
Yeah, love it. Okay, I want to go link this back in, but something you mentioned at the start, which was like everything that we've done is organic.
Mm.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So again, we will have to eventually get there, but we haven't done any paid marketing. Um, and we haven't paid people to um, speak about us or sing our praises or kind of try our products and then go out and say good big if they have big followings and stuff, right? Everyone who is in within our ecosystem have come to us or have started within our organization and just loved it so much, and I've kept it that way. All of our Instagram channels, nothing has been boosted, no followers, anything has been paid for. It's just consistently putting out good stuff that has attracted everybody into our ecosystem. All of our members here, all of our online subscribers, all of our followers on Instagram, all of our partnerships and collaborations, like that's all through just us doing the hard work, sending the emails, making the posts, creating the content, and we've just created this amazing community with just what we've been doing.
Yeah, I want to jump in because we've had lots of conversations where I
Yeah.
think periodically over time we've entertained the idea of like, and it's really been me. You know, I've like had a conversation with maybe another business owner about what they're doing in social media marketing, and you know, I keep on hearing about, oh, you know, you got to do paid advertising, you got to put X amount of your revenue back into, you know, paid ads or boosted posts, and we kind of gone back and forth on it a lot. And I've always obviously trusted your opinion because, that's why I hire you, because this is your area of expertise. But I think that there is this, maybe there's this kind of perception out there in the world right now that to build a big following, you need to be doing, investing money into your posts. And I think something that we've done, and if anyone who's kind of followed the progress or the following of the process program in Coastal over, well, process program for the last 4 years, Coastal Fitness has been the last 10 years, but really only started elevating it about 3, 4 years ago, is that our growth has been really steady.
Mm,
It's not gone. We haven't gone from like 5K to 10K in a month. It's been like a slow trickle
mm.
of like 10 followers every week over a 4 year period,
Yeah.
if even that. And
Yeah.
there's been periods where we're losing followers,
Yeah.
periods where we bump up again. And I think that has been the trajectory of our social media accounts. We've always tried to keep it organic. I think what we mean by that is just we're putting out content that we think is going to provide value to the world. And every time it gets liked or shared or reposted, that's an opportunity for us to potentially grow our following. And like you said, maybe we could have sped that process up by doing paid
Yeah.
advertising, but it's been a really great learning curve. I think I can specifically speak on behalf of myself on learning about what sticks, what hits,
Yeah.
what doesn't, what should we continue to post and talk about, what shouldn't we do. And it's like this constant game of monitoring, and trial and error.
Mm,
It's not just post something and you're going to get more followers.
yeah.
But I think we're at a point now where, our main accounts, Coastal Fitness and Process Training, we're posting every day,
Mhm.
right? So that's been a commitment that you've been doing now for how long?
A couple years now.
Yeah, and I remember you always saying, because you sit down often with our team and we talk about as a collective how we can improve our marketing. And something I always remember is like, if you want to just maintain your growth, it's one post a week or
3
three posts a week,
now. Yeah.
3 posts a week. And if you want to grow your following substantially, then you got to post every day. And this is all to do with like the algorithms and what
Mhm.
Instagram and social media is rewarding, right? Because they obviously want to reward the people that are on their app more. And they're going to reward them by giving them followers. It's kind of like that's your payday
Yeah.
on Instagram. So the more you put into it, the more you're going to get paid. So I think that's an important thing that we should
Yeah.
share and say, that it is possible to move into the 10K pluses by doing things organically. And yeah, I remember that Gary, I think you sent me a Gary V
Yeah.
uh, post where he was just talking about, the most powerful influencing piece of content have always been organic.
And from the small businesses,
Yeah,
like
someone just doing something which is just like really cool and it catches fire, and then next minute there's millions of views on the thing,
yeah.
and the business is now selling out our products
Yeah.
overnight.
Yeah, I think there's a time and place for everything. Like there are certain businesses and gym businesses where I do think paid marketing does work because it's like templated things, it's transformation things, and those are the type of content that can relate to a lot of people. But our market is just so niche that there's nothing that we could put on a paid marketing post that would do it justice to people who have no idea who we are, you know? So it's like our main thing is through word of mouth or people seeing other people because that's where our mission really comes to life, right? And yeah, like you said in social media, it's a hard we're so blessed to have something that doesn't cost any money to be able to create a big successful business as individuals but also as a business. But it can be toxic, and, like, I say that to our people all the time, like you said, you get rewarded for the amount of time that you spend on there, and that's how addictions are created,
Mhm.
right? But it's again, it can be this beautiful thing if you know your personal brand. If you know who you are, you know what you wanna be saying, again, it shouldn't be hard. It should be something that, "Oh, I'm doing this, I'm gonna post it," and you're not doing it for validation, you're not doing it for the number of likes that you're gonna get, you're doing it knowing that this work that you're doing now will come to fruition if you continuously and consistently do it because it is what you truly believe in and it is exactly what you want to do. So it's like we have 8 accounts. I handle 7 of those. Build is handled by Babs. Is it hard posting on 7 accounts every day? Fuck yeah, it's so hard that I don't even like pay attention to my own Instagram because that's not where the future of my business is. It's within these 7 Instagram accounts, right? But it's easy for me to create content because I deeply know the ins and out of this business and each of those 7 accounts, that when I put something up, I don't have to be spending loads of time thinking about it. It's like, okay, I'm gonna do this, that's it. And I have the educational sources of everyone around us, but also in this day and age, there's so many educational sources that you can go to Google. Like, we were just joking about ChatGPT, but like I've recently used it more in the sense of just saying, okay, I want to create a post about why, like I just posted on the education page. I'm not a coach, but I asked like why are compound exercises performed best first? And it gave you the answers, and then they're not all the correct answers that you would want to put out, but it gives you ideas. And
Mm.
I think that's the hardest part about creating content is the idea.
Yeah, getting started.
It's getting
Once you got
started.
the idea,
Then
it's
and you
flowing. Yeah.
know it, then all you gotta do
Mm.
is create it, right? And so I think that's something that if you can see the collective of our employees, like they've stepped up on that so much because and I love hearing the conversations, like even just from Scope being like, he hated it. And a lot of it is ego, I think. Like people don't want to post on social media because they're just like,
Afraid
that's
of judgment and
uncool,
what the world's gonna think of them.
Exactly. But then once you start actually capitalizing, you're like, "Oh, wow, I got 3 clients just from posting this or just from reaching out to someone or just from doing that," you know? And it's like and like I said, it can all just be organically done. It doesn't have to be this huge show. And yes, brand matters. Yes, logo matters. Yes, presentation matters and aesthetics matter. But before all of that, at the core, do something simple. And then all of that will grow as your business grows. You don't need to be thinking about the finishings if you don't have the basic product.
I think I would like to talk about the idea of the power of um like building personal brands and
Yeah.
how that can how can that can impact
Yeah.
collectively, let's say a group or a community, or in our case an organization. So I think for, let's use us as a case study.
Yeah.
So, we have within our team, we've got some people with some pretty big followings. You got Tammy, I don't even know how many she got, 250,000 plus maybe. I think Meg is in 100,000 somewhere. Ant must be close to 100,000 at this point in time. So you got three individuals alone. Mark's photography's got 10,000 plus. And then all the other coaches in near thousands somewhere. But I guess what I never really understood was the power that the individuals within an organization, in our case, our organization, that the more we were putting out
Mm.
collectively, even if it wasn't all saying the same thing, but just the more that we put out, ultimately, how much that impacted our company, our brand. I think we had a little recent experiment where, we set some goals in the team.
Mm.
And I remember I set the first one to say that I'm going to start posting every day.
Yeah.
I think I'm on week 5 or 6 of doing that now. And then a few of the other coaches, we kind of set it as a challenge between ourselves that we're all going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And we saw almost instantly, I think it was like a week or something after, 3 or 4 of us started posting every day, the amount of referrals that were actually clicking through to make a purchase, whether it's personal training or group coaching, that happened just almost in a week's time.
Yeah.
The percentage increase was really substantial. And I think that for me and the rest of the team was like, wow,
Yeah.
okay, like now we can see,
The
because
actual.
for a long time you've been harping on to the team about, guys, you got to start posting, you got to start to build your personal brand. If you want to grow your business, you want to grow your following, you want to not your following, you want to grow your clientele base. Let's actually talk about our job here. You want to work with more CrossFit clients, or you want to work with a specific demographic. It all starts to your page. And I think the feeling was, surely that's just Coastal Fitness's job.
Yeah.
Surely, if Coastal Fitness just promotes personal training, we're going to get more clients.
Yeah.
And obviously, Coastal Fitness has done that and will always do that. But, now seeing the actual impact of everyone doing their own little part on the actual business, could you just share some thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I'm not going to speak for other businesses, but as a gym business, if you're not investing in the opportunity for your coaches to promote themselves in the way, like it doesn't have to be as extreme as we do, where we have a videographer, we have a photographer, and we have graphic design, right? But you need to be providing them the tools to promote themselves, then you're not doing everything that you can as a
Because
business.
it's an investment as a business.
It is an investment.
Investing
It
in
is
your
a
employees
cost.
to do this. Yeah.
Yes. But it will, like we saw, reap its returns, because in a business like ours, our product are our employees. Like, especially with personal training. Like, they write their own training program. They're the product. We're selling them. And if you're not selling them in the way that speaks to other people, then no one's gonna come. No one's like, yes, Coastal in itself and its name is big and it's grand, but why is it that way? Because of our people, you know, and we're renowned to have world-class coaches and the service that they get when they get in here. Yes, our facilities are great, but our customer service is even better, which is what keeps people here, you know? And that's what it is. It's and again, I can post on the Coastal page being like, "Oh, look at Ed. He's has this and this certification. He's amazing." And then people are going to go to your page if they don't see this amazing thing that I'm saying. They're going to be like, "He must not be that amazing," because
Or they
everyone
feel that the post is inauthentic
inauthentic exactly
and you
because
lose them.
in this day and age, our Instagram feed is our resume. It's who we are. It's our personal life, it's our professional life, it's what we believe in, it's what we say, it's where we go, it's the things we do. It's all out there for the public to see. Like my sister, she owns a gym as well in San Francisco, and then they were about to hire a coach, and they went to their social media page and just didn't see things that they believed aligned with their business and their values. And she asked me my thoughts, and I said if that were me hiring, I would not hire this person because when you hire an employee, they're a reflection of you, and when people see their Instagram feed, they're going to relate it to you whether that's what you want or not. And it is a very fine line to draw because like I said, Instagram is personal, but in this day and age, if you're putting things online, you're telling people who you are, what you do, and what you stand for, you know, and that's super
I
important.
think especially in the fitness industry though, I
Yes.
think probably more than any other industry,
Yeah,
like Instagram was really built for our industry.
it is.
It's like it's about aesthetics,
Mhm.
it's about like sex sells, so like muscly bodies or slim bodies on females unfortunately is attention grabbing, and that's what Instagram's about. It's all about you got a second to capture someone's attention, and
How are
like
you gonna do that?
how are you going to do that? And so and it's a highly competitive market now.
Yep.
Like the gym industry is crazy competitive.
Yep.
Like in
There's
it's
so much offering out there, so much competition. And something I said to you before is right now, ChatGPT can give you a training program. You could say, and anyone can help someone who's done nothing get better. You know, so what makes you stand out goes back to the beginning of the podcast is how you make people feel.
mm,
Is the message and the story that you're putting out through your Instagram account before they even meet you. Because before they meet you, they're going to be checking your Instagram account to be like, what does this person do? What does this person enjoy? What successes have this person had? What challenges, trials and tribulations have they overcome? Why do I want to be this person's friend? Right? And they're judging you before you even had a chance to speak to them, which is a lot of pressure. But in this industry, that's the only way, in my opinion, that you're going to be successful and you're going to be able to grow your career and you're going to be able to have a reach beyond just who you have in the four walls, right? And so that's what we saw is like, yes, I'm one account Coastal that can reach certain people. But now, if I have 14 coaches, that's 14 more accounts that are reaching even more people with a more personal, authentic story. Because a business will always say and will always put out what a business wants people to know. And if you want to now look at more authentic and genuine, you would go to people's personal accounts, right? And that's people are going to be like that. Oh, I want to work with this person because I love that they're sharing their mental health battles. I underwent that too. They'll be able to relate and understand me. Or I want to work with this person because they've had a C-section, so they know how to recover from that. And she shared that she's recovered from it. I want to do that, you know? So it's like, that's how important your personal brand is. And like I said, it doesn't matter what, in that moment when you're just starting off, it doesn't matter if you have a logo. It doesn't matter like the quality of things that you're putting up. It's the quality of the content that you're putting up that matters. And you don't have to overthink it. And like what you said, in the beginning, it's who you want to work with. That's the first thing that we told our coaches. That's all you have to do. If you want to work with CrossFit people, post that you know what you're talking about with CrossFit. If you want to work with pre and postpartum people, show how you can do that, you know? And if that's truly what you love and truly what you're good at, it should be so easy to create content. Barbell work, gymnastic work, you know? It's like, it shouldn't be that
can I
hard.
okay, here's what I'd like to do.
Yes, that was a lot. Sorry.
I'd like because you've been a big part of my social media
Yeah.
journey, and I feel like social media is something I'm definitely not going to say I'm an expert on, but
Yeah.
I feel like I have a much better understanding of social media and how to be more successful in it, I
Mm-hmm.
should say. Um, obviously, okay, successful, that is in the eyes of the beholder, in the eye
Yes.
of the beholder, but I just understand it more. But a lot of, I think, the improvements I've made with social media has come down to you.
Thank you.
So I would like for you to give me an honest
Mm.
evaluation from start,
Mm.
from where we
Yeah,
began and
yeah,
why you first told me it was
yeah.
terrible, to like where we're at and the steps that we went through
Yeah.
over time to get to kind of where my page is at
Yeah.
now.
Firstly, there's this new trend. Well, we don't have ChatGPT in Hong Kong, but Al's given me this kind of like dupe ChatGPT thing where you take a screenshot of your feed and you ask
I did it last
ChatGPT
night
to roast
to
your
roast
feed.
it.
Why didn't you post it? I want
Because
to
mine
see
wasn't
what.
that funny.
Oh, it wasn't.
No, but okay, so the thing
I'm just
is,
saying that's absolutely hilarious
it was
right
funny. So
now.
you could, I was lolling at lots of
See,
what
you
people
should.
were doing.
Oh, yeah.
The thing is though, because okay, so firstly, we don't chat GPT, I think, is when people use chat GPT, they're getting like high level
Yeah.
AI roasting.
Yeah.
So I don't have
Our
chat
Chinese.
I don't have chat GPT. So I started with just Google.
Oh,
And the
that's
Google
lame.
roast was terrible.
Yeah.
Then I went on to another one, was like someone had put on their Instagram, this website, click on this
Yeah.
and roast yourself. So I did it and I was like, that was a bit of a weak roast. And then I went into po.com, which is another.
That's the one I'm using.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I went to Po and I was like, roast my page.
It wasn't that
And
good.
the first roast was actually quite offensive. I was like, fucking hell, this is like,
Please post
it
that one. I
wasn't
want to
even
see
funny.
it.
It was just
I
like
wanna see it.
savage, but it was a bit generalized. It wasn't specifics
Oh.
because I was reading a roast of like some other people and I
Yeah.
was like,
It was hilarious.
it was hilarious. I was like, wow, they've
Hilarious.
actually like
Yeah.
nailed it.
I saw Naz's and I couldn't stop laughing. Nazaria from
Oh
Singapore.
yeah, I saw Mavs from Mobile.
Oh,
His was really good. As
okay. People who have real ChatGPT, message Ed and let him use it. I want to see his roast.
But the roast was basically telling me that it was basically saying that I had no posts. I didn't post enough, and it was rinsing me about my followers to like following ratio. Basically saying like, I was just like, yeah, it was still pretty funny, but it wasn't funny enough. I thought I was like, I wanted to get roasted harder.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's actually what I wanted. I wanted like an actual really good
Yeah.
roast.
Okay, anyways, back to the
Okay.
story. So I think in the beginning, when I had this conversation with you, it was because you actually have a substantial number of followers now. It's grown quite a lot. I looked at your page the other day. You didn't have as many followers that I would imagine that someone of your caliber in the industry would have had. And then when I was looking through your feed, I could tell why. It felt like, I'm really sorry. I'll give you
problem.
this roast that you've been looking
Yeah,
for.
please, thank you. I want a real life. I get the real life
The real
roast.
life roast.
Way better.
It was not very authentic and not very genuine. I think you were posting just for what would get likes. Like I would see, yeah, okay, some of your photos would get lots of likes, but that's because you were like tops off, like, drinking, something that was just like completely unrelated to your brand and your business. And I can see, and at this point of time, you weren't as self-aware or self-confident, I would say, in yourself
Yeah.
now, where you weren't seeking validation of how many likes that you were getting.
Yeah.
And so I could understand why you were posting that way. But it wasn't a reflection of your business. It wasn't a reflection of your offerings. But in your defense, I would say it's because you weren't using social media to get more clients. You had a full client base and you weren't really seeing it as a benefit to get more people in coastal fitness as well.
Yeah. Accurate.
Yeah. So I think that was just your feed. You were using it as a personal blog, basically. And when I first started here, that was the huge avenue where I thought was missed, is that
I think by the way,
it wasn't even Ed
I
Haynes'
wasn't even Ed
coach.
Haynes' coach.
No,
I was just Ed Haynes.
Yeah. And so that was an issue. And then your bio was an issue as well because it said like it had nothing to do with even what you were doing.
Really
I know,
cringe.
it was something
It's
freaking
like
cringe.
chasing sunsets.
Yeah, it was
and
something
lifting
lame.
weights or something.
I'm so sorry for people who have that as oops.
No, if you have that, that's lame.
Yeah, so that's where we started. We started where your Instagram handle is what people search. That's what's going to come up. So you changed it. I would change, if you could, removing the underscores because that's a barrier as well. That I've only recently just learned, but I shared that. Your Instagram main name should say either who you are, what you do, in your bio as well, because those keywords are what people search and enable to them get to you. So we made those small changes, and then we looked at your feed. And we were kind of like, and at this point, there was no such thing as reels when we first started. It was solely just posts. I don't even know if there was carousels at that
No.
point. It was just single images. So we were kind of like, okay, stop posting all of these trap, thirsty kind of photos. I think you were single at this point in time too. So it was a very thirsty feed. Here's your roast, Ed.
I like it.
So yeah, we were kind of like, okay, let's sack all that. Like, you are not looking for that right now. Your main purpose is to grow your business. So how are you going to grow your business? You're a coach that coaches coaches, but you're also a CrossFit Games coach. You're a personal trainer. So you started posting more things that were aligned.
You have a gym.
Yeah, and you have a gym. What your gym is about, the people in your facility and stuff, and that's where we just started. And you, like you do most things, you picked it up really quickly. You always sought feedback and you were willing to try new things, and you did. And as Instagram started growing, we had to reevaluate again. Once there was carousel posts, we had to be like, okay, well, what are we going to utilize that for? It's like, yes, you could put 10 pictures of yourself, or it's now an opportunity to create a very eye-catching graphic that's educational. And so that's the route that you wanted to take. You're like, well, I'm an educator, so let's create
So
educational
I'm just going to
content.
pause you there because I want to just share some stuff on that. I think what I realized very quickly on the posting side of things was that I didn't really like the video stuff. And I didn't like the videos because I feel like I didn't have a skill set in making videos. And I'm quite time tight, so I didn't have time to sit.
And
Sorry,
edit
I
stuff.
didn't create time at that point in time to sit and create a video. I just thought it was just a waste of time. I didn't have it. So I think I tried it in the early stages and I realized pretty quickly that it just didn't feel authentic to me. And what felt more authentic was an image. And I quite like to like thought dump and, you know, just share what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking. And so I guess my post ended up being pretty text heavy, with maybe an average image, which I think, you know, and that still very much is what my Instagram page is, I think. But
with text heavy stuff, sorry to interrupt, another thing that we fixed is adjusting the text. So you would put everything in one whole paragraph, and I'm like, well, that people aren't going to read that. So being the copywriter obsessed person that I am, I'm like, well, put paragraphs, make some lines shorter than other lines, make some paragraphs shorter than others, have intentional dots, intentional breaks, because
but remember back in the day, you couldn't do that on Instagram.
You would have to put it on notes
you had
and then
to,
copy and
you had
paste.
to put on notes and then, or if you wanted to write it, you had to put like a full stop.
Yeah.
You couldn't put full stop. You just had to hit a new line. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was a lot of work. That's why you have to put on notes and then copy and paste. It was a lot of
paste.
work, but like those little things, like, will affect how long people are on your feed. Because another thing with Instagram is your post will get rewarded for how long people are on there. So if people are reading towards the whole text, then that engagement will be more gifted. Or if people swipe all the way to the end of your carousel, then Instagram will be like, oh, that's interesting content, I'll keep that. If people are only swiping until like the second or third, Instagram will be like, that's boring content, I'm not gonna put that. Yeah, so it's like, it's a lot to think about for sure. But overall, it should just be engaging. And I think that's what we've tried our best to work with you to be like what you said, it has to be something that's authentic and easy for you, but also engaging, right? And so video wasn't that. You tried really hard with Reels for a while. And we were like, Ed, you're just not a Reels guy. But you do put it in now, and you found your niche in Reels, which is educational Reels, not like the funny, trendy ones, right? And then with graphics, it's like we initially started with the very text-heavy ones, and now we're like, okay, let's break them up by putting pictures, or let's break them up by putting icons, something that's more appealing, right? And now there's 20. I'm kind of nervous for your educational posts with 20 slides.
Oh yeah, I haven't done a 20
You
rep
haven't,
carousel yet.
That's a crazy carousel. But yeah, so and there was a point in time where we had to reevaluate again, because we were looking at when the reel started, it's like, okay, well, the cover images weren't good. You weren't like putting it into the square so that the image
and I was for a while I was making everything on Canva.
Yeah, and they were awful.
Yeah, because I was basically I'm quite an impatient person.
Yeah,
like if I want something
it has to be done now.
Has to be done now. And so basically, Izzy, you'd given us the opportunity to like message you, and then you would work with your team to create the graphic and then send it back to us. But I was just too impatient. I was like, I want it now because I've written it now. So what I ended up doing, I just go into Canva and try make my own version of what I think would look cool. And I basically get a message like an hour later being like, this looks trash. Delete it.
It looked really bad.
Yeah. And then but I was like, in my head, I was like, does that even matter? The content's out there. Now I know, because the content that I look at, if it's crap and it's just too wordy and small, the writing's small, I'm not going to read that.
You're not going to read it.
Even if it's great.
Important. Yeah, because again, in this day and age, aesthetics matter, and like
Yeah,
your first
the picture frame
impression,
matches as much as the
exactly,
picture sometimes.
exactly. The text, and like with us, because we have so many businesses, we need to keep the fonts and we need to keep the colors consistent so people know that it's about something that you do, right? And when they go onto your feed, they want to be like, oh, this guy puts effort. This guy knows what he's doing and he's investing in this post. It must be good. Like that's what you think about when you look at stuff. You're like, oh, this person probably only took 2 seconds to do it. It's probably not even worth my
Mm.
time, where it's like that stuff is important.
I think something that took me a while to understand was this whole idea of like you just talking about it earlier, that your Instagram should be an authentic an authentic version of you just
Yeah.
online. I guess I always thought of Instagram as like, okay, I need to create something that's like,
Your best foot forward,
yeah,
like,
or
yeah.
it's gonna like something that has to break the internet,
Mm,
something that's like full of wisdom and education.
yeah.
And I'd find myself putting like hours of work into creating like this very thoughtful post,
Mm,
and I put it up there, and it would just be like, I just felt like the engagement was really low. No one really cared. And I think the way that I see it now is that, you know, being a coach online, or, being someone like me where you have multiple coaching businesses, but a lot of which is online, it's, I think, less now about trying to sell my businesses. And I think about more about just trying to show the world who I am.
mhm.
Because at the end of the day, like, there is thousands, maybe millions of people out there online who are offering fitness advice, fitness coaching. They have businesses like myself. How's one person going to choose,
Someone or the other. Yep.
Izzy's coaching versus Ed's coaching?
Yeah.
Yes, it might come down to the services, but to be honest, you're offering personal training and so
It
am I.
is. Yep.
We're all offering online programs. At the end of the day, people feel a connection to the person.
Yep.
And it's like the same way that you would in the old days go down to the pub and meet someone and have a chat with them, become friends with them.
Yep.
Social media has now become the online pub where
Yep.
you can just meet anyone and not
Mhm.
actually even have an interaction, just see a page and feel,
Mhm.
you can just see it. You're like, I like the way that this guy talks.
I want
I
to
like
invest
what
in
this
them.
guy's
Yeah.
this guy's doing. I feel like this is the way I kind of look at it. I feel like if I bumped into this person in the pub, I'd be friends with him
Yeah.
or her.
Mhm.
And then you kind of create this connection to them. And then the likelihood that that person is going to invest in whatever business you put out there one day is higher.
Mhm.
So I was listening to this podcast just recently, which was talking about like relationships, and to even get to the first point of of it being somewhat of a relationship, it takes 7 interactions with a
Mm.
person. And so that's just for someone to even potentially get to a point of following you.
Mm.
So, now sometimes, I just see a profile, I quickly click on it, I have a quick scroll, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to give that person a follow. But in real life, you don't just say hello to someone on the street and then you're like, I want to have a coffee with that
Yeah.
person next time. It's often multiple interactions. They say on average 7 until you think maybe you might put this person in one of your circles, right? So you've got close friendships, you've got outer circles. And then if you're interested in learning about this, it's called Dunbar's numbers, I think it is. He talks about the different networks, and I think you can have 5,000 people who, or 1,500 people who I think you could recognize,
Mhm.
but then it grew, and social media has obviously changed all of this now. um so yeah, the way I see it now is that, okay, actually I'm looking at this more from almost a relationship
Mhm.
building standpoint. And there is absolutely no doubt, because I think the term influencer, and I still, like, Cammy, my wife, always says like, you're an influencer. I'm like, I'm not an influencer. Like, that's not what she says. No, she actually says celebrity online. Oh, you're just a celebrity. I'm like, I'm not a celebrity.
You're an influencer, I would say that.
But see, I still don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a hard
Yeah.
time like coming to terms with that, because in my head, I think I maybe have a more of an, I don't, not anymore, but younger insecure
Mm.
Ed had more of a negative connotation with the idea of influencers, because I
Mhm.
just thought they're just really fake,
Yeah.
inauthentic, and I just
Yeah.
never really wanted to be that. So maybe that's why I have resistance to that term. And I think I also have resistance because the people around me have followings that are 100 times bigger than mine. And
Yeah.
so then I kind of think, well, then what if that's me, if I'm an influencer, what are they,
Yeah.
type thing. So anyhow, that's probably
On
just my
hold
own
on
shit.
on that really quick. Now, so there is research out now that brands and businesses are focusing on people who have the like 5K to 20K following, because those influences are organic and genuine. Like what you said, they're based off of relationships, that whatever you say, people will actually believe what you're saying. Whereas people with the 100, 200 millions, like those people are likely following them because they look good, or,
Yeah.
it's like not as like, they won't probably buy what they're saying, they just enjoy the content that they put out and the stuff, whereas, like, the less in a number of followers, not about the followers that you have more of a genuine connection that
Yeah.
people actually are believing what you're saying,
I
you
think
know?
just on that side, so it's a side tangent, but I think about that sometimes because I will always get back to every single person that
Mhm.
messages me on Instagram. Like I will never leave a message
Yeah,
unread without a response.
and that creates automatically a relationship that is now beneficial to something in your future, you
Yeah.
know? Whereas, like, people who get thousands of DMs a day aren't
Well, that's
creating
what I
that
think. I think
bond.
if I had 1 million followers, like there's no way
You would have time to be able to get back to everyone.
that'd be a full-time job
Yeah.
to hire someone to have to do that. And so I guess that goes back to what you're just saying about the connect whilst the following gives off the idea that they're a stronger influence. Actually, you're right.
It's
Like the
not.
influence might not actually be quite
And I
as
think
much.
that's something we've had to, like we've had people be like, "Well, I only have 900 followers. Who the fuck cares what I post?" I'm like, "900
There's
people?
a lot of
In
people.
what world?" It's only in our society where it's like people were farmers, they didn't know 900 people, like, it's insane. One person, now you've got a PT for life. Like, you don't if you had 10, that's even I don't have 10 friends. I have 10 friends, but it's like, it's like just it's skewed our brains, this amount of follower thing.
Yeah.
It's like a thousand people. Like,
Yeah.
that's an insane amount of people to even be able to connect with. Like, that's the beauty right now is like you have the potential to make connections with people all over the world. Like, why aren't you utilizing it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why I stress it so much.
Another thing that I found interesting learning about recently was um, the rate of the percentage rate from someone who is a lead
Mm,
who actually eventually makes a purchase, because I think this is kind of still tying back
for
into
sure.
what we're talking about, right, which is basically the power of having personal brands, and the power of personal brands influencing a business. And we've also been talking about like a business account
Yeah.
and how that can ultimately lead to then you increasing the sales of your service. And so that in this case study, I know these numbers might be a little bit off, so no one quote me on this, but they were using someone like Apple, Apple, who are, one of the leading organizations in the world in retail, where the percentage of people who walk into a store and actually make a purchase is a really high
Mm,
percentage. But they said, that even in an Apple store, you may have 100 people walk into a store and one person might purchase
mm,
something. But in their eyes, in the retail world, that is an amazing return on investment.
yeah. I can see that.
Yeah, and but then it makes me think about, I think, the standards that I certainly hold, and I
Mm,
think most of us in this world hold, which is we're so harsh on ourselves.
for sure.
We put content out, or let's take our individual coaching course. We created a free course, and in my eyes, I was genuinely thinking,
Yeah.
we're going to create this free course. It's going to be, a snippet of the real course. It's going to be amazing. Like everyone's going to sign up for it, and like 50% of those people are going to invest in the individual coaching
Mm,
course.
mm,
And what we started to see was that loads of people are enrolling in the free course. We
mhm.
have so many people now,
Yeah.
every week, day almost,
Yeah.
enrolling in the free course. But then I was kind of sitting waiting to
For
see the
signups.
conversions over
Yeah.
the thing, and it wasn't happening.
But I'd love to ask you, how many people do you follow on Instagram, and how many purchases have you made on Instagram?
Yeah, very, very few.
That's just the
In
way
fact,
it is.
I just made a purchase the other day, which you're
Nice.
going to give me shit for, because it's
Oh
gonna
god,
a
more
package is
shopping.
a package is gonna arrive at Coast. You're gonna go, oh, Ed, do
More
more of the
shopping. He's a
shopping.
shopaholic
But
now.
that is, I would say, maybe the second time I've ever purchased
Yeah,
something through
that's the
social
way
media.
it is. It's like, and that's what we have to keep reminding ourselves. Like, yes, you put content out there and people will follow you and people will like it, people will engage with it, or they won't. Like, I scroll through Instagram and I won't like something when I scroll. Not because I don't like it, but just because, like, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'm not really
So that's
thinking
something
about
that
it.
I don't do.
You will like it on purpose just to show that you like it.
I do it, yeah. I
Yeah.
go out my way now. If something is genuinely like it's
Yeah.
stopped me for a second, I
Mm,
want to make sure I like it,
yeah. So
because
they
I want the
appreciate it.
person to know that
That's
I
really
I
nice. Yeah,
appreciate it.
that's really nice.
Because I do think that I've talked about this quite a lot on the podcast and on my social media pages, but it's as someone who might be putting out good stuff,
Mm,
if you're not,
feeling
and we're not
rewarded
doing it for
for it.
recognition,
Yeah.
right? We're not putting out good stuff because we want the likes. So
Yeah.
genuinely, I'm in a place right now where the likes really aren't important to me
Mm,
at all. I'm putting the stuff out there because it's stuff that I love to share.
yeah.
It's stuff that feels easy to talk about,
Mm,
like you said. And again, that's something that you taught me. And I just genuinely hope that this could be helping someone somewhere in the
yeah.
world. But I know what it feels like when you put a lot of effort and time into putting things out there into the world, and to feel sometimes like maybe this isn't appreciated. Maybe I shouldn't be
That's
doing
fair.
this, you know?
Yeah.
And I think when you don't get some form of tactile feedback to say
It's a little bit
that
hard
was good,
disheartening. Yeah.
it's sometimes it can be demotivating, and
Yeah.
that could eventually lead to someone who's doing really good stuff
To not do
to
it
not do it,
anymore.
and then we
Yeah.
all lose out.
Yeah. No, that is true. And I do think that a lot. But again, it's you have to keep going back to why you're doing something
Yeah, and I
and
think
why you
that's important.
continuously put effort into it, right? And then that's just the social media game. Because like what you said, competition is so big. It's you have to go down to why you're putting into the hard
Mm.
work for it, right?
I think so. I think that's something that I wanted to talk about as well, which is like the why behind it. I think so far everything we talked about on the why behind social media is the power that it can have on your brand,
Yeah.
and ultimately resulting in more sales or
Mm.
gym members, or in coaching terms, more clients. Um, but I think that's something that I've only more recently been thinking about. You know, like this goal that I set for myself of posting every single day is because I'm now starting to understand the kind of game of social media, that if you want to,
It is a
you can be
game.
creating great, and it's sad to say it in a way, but if you're creating great content because your frequency is so low, you're not getting eyes on that content, which
Nope.
means you could be doing great stuff that could be really helping someone, but that person's just not seeing it
Yep.
because you're just not on the algorithm. So for the first time ever for me, it actually feels like I'm now having to play the game a little bit, which has been an interesting shift. And because it's, like I said, this is about week 6, I think, of trying to post every day. I think
Yeah.
week 6, maybe
And
week
it's not
5.
just about that. It's about replying to DMs, like you said. It's about
Yes,
liking content,
commenting,
commenting on content, even just a freaking fire emoji. Like Instagram wants to see that you're,
freaking fire
yeah,
emoji.
Instagram just wants to see that you're enjoying your time here. And they'll be like, okay, I want this person to be here more. So
They
let's
love us, so let's
reward
love
them.
them
Yeah,
back.
let's
Yeah.
reward them by giving them more reason to be here, you know? So, like, that's the game.
What
Exactly.
I've noticed though, I think, and I think this is in a way being a really good thing, is because, okay, you can't. I think it's naive to say that, oh, the likes don't matter at all, because at the
Mm,
end of the day, if you're going to put effort into putting something out there,
want the
you need to know if it's hitting home
mm,
a little bit. If it's just falling on deaf ears, and you just keep on posting the same thing, well, then your time could probably be better spent elsewhere. So I think it is important to just see the stuff that you're putting out there. Like, okay, are people actually liking this? Am I on the right lines of this, or do I need to change up my angle of it, my plan of attack? But since I started posting every day, because I'm actually with social media, I'm really not much of a scroller. Like, I don't sit and
yeah.
go through my home feed. I never go through the explore page. I'm really there to put content out
Mm,
and to engage and speak to the people that message me back or like my stuff and have conversations. That's really, and so I log on twice a day. It's in the morning time, and then it's at night time. And I basically clear out all my messages, and
yeah.
those are the 2 times I do it. But since posting every single day, what's been interesting is it has taken the pressure off trying to make the content really good,
Mm,
because you realize that in 24 hours that's just going to fall down slowly every
hmm.
day down your feed.
Yep.
And it's not to say that it never gets read then, because people still go back and
Yeah.
read lots of old stuff, but it's really taken the pressure off to be like, this needs to be really good.
Hmm.
And like you said, now I've set a rule, which is 15 minutes. If I spend more than 15 minutes on the post, then, well, I'm not going to say I'm not going to post it because I've set the goal of doing it, but that's what I want to kind of keep my threshold at. So it really forces me to be focused, put 15 minutes in. But when I posted it, it's like
Yeah.
you kind of just let it go.
So with that, what Alice Katie does in the sense of like still posting consistently but keeping your feed high quality is reels you can take off your grid. So you post a reel and then you say don't show on profile
Mm,
grid. So on their grid it's just this nice aesthetically looking stuff, but then if you click to reel, it has all of their reels and they're
mm,
constantly posting reels in order to do like what you're saying, which is just putting content out there to be rewarded. So you still get the best of both where your content's out there and yes, it's there if people want to see your reels, but your first initial aesthetic page is still kept nice and clean, which I
mm.
think was really clever.
I don't think my page is very clean.
We'll look through it again.
Yeah, I
It's
don't.
about time for a feed checkup.
Yeah, maybe.
That
Yeah, we need to put this roast into action. Um,
was a lot.
yeah.
That was a very
Okay.
long
So,
episode.
yeah, I think maybe this is probably a good place to kind of conclude all of this. I think I just wanted to say that this idea of being an influencer,
Mm.
whether you whether you buy into that term or not, it goes without saying that people in positions of influence have a greater likelihood of fill in the blank. So when it comes to, you know, if you're someone who has an influence and you start a new business, the likelihood of people buying into
Yep.
that new business is immediately higher.
Yep.
If you're a person in influence and you're looking to get more clients or grow the membership of your gym, you are immediately at an advantage of those who don't. And so I think like there is really no life. This sounds terrible, but I think life is a lot easier for you in many ways when you're in a position of influence if you're trying to make things happen.
Yep.
So I want
That
to
does
just
not sound terrible. That is facts.
yeah, I guess it sounds terrible because I also know that people might take that out of context and confuse it with the idea of happiness, because a lot of people can be really happy without social media pages. But
No.
I think just in terms of
Again, like what you said, success is in the eye of the beholder. So if your success is to profitability or sales, then yes, a person of influence will, and
yeah,
who needs Instagram to do it.
and I think this, and then I think the second stumbling block that prevents people from even starting this is the fact that they're like, well, it's too late.
Mm.
Like I don't have. Why would I start now? I have 100 followers. What's the point in doing all this? I've missed the opportunity. And I would just reply to say that you've just got to start somewhere
Yep.
and start small. It doesn't have to be 6 days a week, 7 days a week. I mean, I don't know how long I've had my page for, but it's taken me X number of years to get to a point where I've finally decided, I'm
That
going to
you're
give
gonna
this a
do it.
crack
Yeah.
and try and do 7 days a week. But for the most of the last 4 or 5 years, it's been one, maybe two posts a week in a very unstructured, thought out process. Anything for you to add?
No, I think that yes, it can be very complicated because there's algorithms, there's formulas, and there's all of these kinds of things. But again, like I've said in this, it's a free tool that if you want to move yourself forward, especially in our industry, that is so easy to utilize. And you can find all the tools that you need and all the information that you need online. Like it's so easy nowadays, and there are reel generators that can create template reels for you. There are automatic photo editors that can edit your photos for you. There's Canva that if you want to, you can do stuff, like there's just so much out there. You just have to know your why, and if your why is strong enough, you'll be able to do anything that you want to actually do, right? And if it take it from anyone, like it may look like from the outside like we're a big business, but in my mind, we're still a small business. We started small. We started with one, and we've only been able to grow this much because of Instagram. And I think that's something that I people are blown away all the time, And yeah, we've only recently started putting effort into our website as well. So it's like we know the power of Instagram, all the partnerships, all the relationships, all the people that we've met, all of our affiliates, all of that is through what they've seen us do online, and we've created that connection. So it's just like, just start, just do it. And I'm so passionate about it because I've seen it be so successful. And I only wish that more people would use it for the betterment of their lives rather than thinking that it's some kind of toxic tool that like drains you.
Yeah. Yeah, I have nothing to add other than I feel very grateful to live in a day and age
Yeah.
where we have this ability to speak to the world for free on your telephone. It gives power to every single
Yep.
individual in this world to achieve your dreams and get that dream job, or earn that paycheck that you've always wanted, or
Yeah.
buy that house. Like it can, if you have a telephone, you have that ability to do it.
Yep.
So yeah, I feel very fortunate to have the opportunity. Izzy, thank you so much for being back on and for
Thank you for
sharing all the
having
great
me.
things that you do and and you've experienced.
Thank you.
Until next time.